Hey everyone, Cherie here. Today I'm going to be creating a layout featuring the gorgeous Katherine Kit from Felicity Jane. I'm doing a 12 by 12 layout and I have already made a start on my background. I've just taken some of the Essentials white cardstock, which you can get separately in the Felicity Jane store, and I've added some really messy stitching to the background. Let's give you a closer look at that. So it is very messy, but that's the look I was going after, just to create some nice texture to break up that plain background. So I'm backing that with the solid coloured cardstock from the paper pack. I'm using the red and I've sized it, so I've cut it down to size so that it's 12 by 12 and I still get to keep that branding strip so that I have that scalloped edge at the bottom. So to go along with that, I've decided to use a piece of the packaging strip that comes in the paper pack, and I've just cut a strip from the top of that to use across the bottom just to add in a little touch of each of the papers from the kit. And I've also cut the spotty strip that goes along the top of that piece, and I think I will tuck that in behind underneath just so that I get a little hint of that polka dot peeking out there. Alright, so for my title, I'm using a combination of alphabet stickers. So I've got the beautiful Katherine alphabet puffy stickers, and I'm pairing that with the Megan puffy stickers. I really love this scripty font. So that's for my title, and you can see I do have them here ready to go. Already set out onto that wax paper. I've got the puffy stickers here. I've got one of the library cards in yellow, which I'm going to use to add some of my journaling to, but I'm also going to use one of these gorgeous vellum frames. This rainbow one is my absolute favourite. So I've sized my photo to go in behind that, so that fits in behind that frame quite nicely, and I'm going to sort of layer those together there. I do have some journaling printed out. I'm planning on adding some to this card and some underneath, and I've got some of these die cuts here ready to go as well. I may use one of the stamps from the Katherine stamp set. I'm thinking perhaps this currently stamp here, so we'll see how that goes. But I think I'm ready to make a start, so let's get right into it. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going to stick down my white cardstock centered onto that background paper. So just deciding exactly where I want the stitching to be, and I'm just roughly centering that on the page. There is a bit more gap down the bottom, just showing a little bit more of that scalloped edge. And I'm just going to add a stitched border around that as well. So now that that is done, I can go ahead and start adding some more bits and pieces to the page. And I do have that strip that's going across the bottom there. I'm just positioning it so there's a little bit of white peeking out underneath that strip. And I have trimmed it down a little bit so it doesn't quite reach to the edges of the page. I've done the same with this polka dot piece. I've just tucked that under the edge, and now I can go ahead and add all my other bits and pieces. So I'm just going to position everything onto the page first before I start sticking everything down. I just want to make sure that I've got enough space to fit everything nicely onto the page. So I've got my photo, that library card, the title, some journaling strips as well, and I do want to add this little label at the bottom there that's going to have the date on it. So just moving everything up a fraction, I just want to make sure I have enough white space around the edge of everything. So I can go ahead and start sticking things down now. So I've got that yellow library card going onto the page, just using double-sided tape. And I'm going to just position this so it's slightly tucked under the edge of that vellum frame. So to secure the vellum frame onto the photo, I've got this vellum tape runner. It's only new, this is the first time I've used it actually, but it seems to work really well and you can't see that tape through the vellum. Just to make sure it is secured at that top edge there, I'm going to just use my stapler and add a couple of staples just to make sure it stays in place. So I can go ahead and add that one to the page now. And that'll be slightly overlapping that library card. So next up, I've got that happy word that I'm going to add on to the bottom of the frame. And you will see me a little bit later. I do have to reposition this, but this is just getting it onto the page. But once I start adding the journaling onto that library card, I do need a little bit more space, so you'll see that very shortly. I'm adding that floral die cut just to the left of the frame, and that has some foam squares underneath it just to give it a little bit of dimension. And these numbers also have foam squares underneath. I've got these 3 pieces of journaling that I've printed out using my computer and printer, and they're just going to be tucked under each of those numbers. I did need to trim one of them just to make sure it wasn't hanging off the edge of that library card. Alright, so now that I'm happy with the positioning, I can go ahead and start sticking those down as well. So just some double-sided tape behind each of those. And I'm not going to stick those numbers down just yet because I do want to just add a little bit of machine stitching across each of these, and because they do have some foam squares behind them, they would interfere with the sewing machine, so I will stick those down very shortly. So now they're on the page, I can go ahead and add that stitching. Alright, so now that that's done, my numbers can go into place. So I'm trying not to make these too straight, so you'll see they're slightly off center to each other. And when I put the number 3 on, this is when I realize I just don't have enough room where that Y is. So I've moved it out the way, and I will reposition that word, just moving it down just a fraction. So the word 13 is also on the page there now, and I can go ahead and start adding my other journaling strips. Ordinarily I would stitch across these journaling strips as well, but because I have so much stitching already on that background, I'm just going to stick these ones down and leave them as they are. Okay, so just getting those stuck down. I'm just roughly eyeballing it to roughly the center of the page when I'm sticking these ones down. So next up, I'm going to stamp the date onto that little die cut label, and I'm going to use Stays On ink to do that so that it doesn't smudge. So these little die cut labels do have a slick kind of surface, so this is definitely the best ink choice to use. So that's done. I can go ahead and add that to the page as well. And that's just going underneath those journaling strips. And I do add a little bit of stitching to that off camera as well. Next up, I've got this Grace Designer cardstock tab, and I'm going to stamp the word currently across that white section there. It does just hang off the edges just a little bit, but I'm just going to go with it. So again, I'm just grabbing my Stays On ink since that's what I had handy, and do a little bit of a practice and then straight onto the tab. So I'm really happy with that, and so that I can save the other half for another project, I've just cut that in half and put the other half aside. And that can go into the top of that journaling card or that library card, and I love that it already had that stitch detail on it. So I've got a mint paper clip there that I've just tucked onto that right side of the library card, and I'm using this puffy tag sticker from the Puffy Stickers pack, just adding some twine to the top of that and tying a knot, and then that can just hang down from that paper clip. So to decorate that, I've just got that little starburst die cut piece, just going to stick that on there with some adhesive. And then I've got the number 13 that I'm going to add to that as well using the Madison Black Puffy Alphabet stickers. I love the tiny size of these stickers, it's so handy. Okay, so that is done and this page is now complete. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I've put this page together today using the beautiful Katherine kit. Let me know if you've got any questions, just pop it down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I will leave a link to Felicity Jane down below as well for you. And thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great day.